Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're tuning in from, and welcome to the 88 MPH Community Call. A community call that's always jam packed with your favorite guests from the crypto space, alpha leaks, and more. My name is Whipper, and I'm a crypto enthusiast and a community volunteer at 88 MPH with the very special pleasure of hosting these calls. Today, we are joined by Summit Defi, one of the most innovating yield aggregators within the DeFi space, a project that brings forward a novel concept. Instead of risking the principal, users have the option to only risk the interest they could potentially earn. We'll get into that during our deep dive of the call. But before we start, I'd like to remind everyone here on stage to please keep their mics muted unless they're speaking. If you have any questions or comments during the call from the general audience, please feel free to raise your hand so we can give you the floor to speak. For the sake of getting more community engagement during these calls, we've changed the format to an open style discussion. So feel free to jump in with your questions at any time. As with tradition here at 88 MPH, we will close the call with a special NFT drop for those who stay until the end. More details will be released towards the end of the call. On the agenda today, we will discuss the following: deep dive into Summit DeFi and how to leverage your crypto, DeFi Summit strategies, news and updates from both 88 MPH and Summit DeFi teams, our open to the public Q&A, followed by our OAT NFT drop. So with that, I'd like to open up the call. Let's maybe start with CCN. We'd like to get to know you a little bit better. Before we talk about Summit DeFi, I'd love to get a brief introduction into who you are and how you got involved in the crypto space, and then we'll pass that along to Kuo.
Hey, it's great to be here. Just a bit of background then, I guess. I've been around crypto since 2017. I've seen more ups and downs than I care to count, and I feel very numb to it. But I stuck around because I was really excited for what crypto could bring to the world. And I think what we see a bit more, where algorithmic stability is a stability with a quality all of its own. And then when F popped onto the scene and what it's been doing, and then what all the new chains have been doing, I've just been very excited about all of the different opportunities for changing the face of finance. Historically, I have a finance background in real life, and when I got into that world and I saw how it worked, I just thought there had to be a better way. So I stuck around the Defi space. I've been very interested in all the various things, and I'm a big supporter of trying to make sure there's the right variety as this grows into its own space.
Thank you for that intro, CCN, and hopefully we're on to greener candles going forward. I feel like the market's turned around, but we can talk about that later in the call. But it's definitely nice to have some sort of OGs in the house who've been through some ups and downs. Kua, what about you? Maybe you can give us a brief intro into who you are and how you got crypto pilled.
Yeah, of course. Well, CCN's the trader of the lot, as you can probably tell. I've been here since 2017. I dipped my feet into the whole crypto space by actually mining. And after I built my first rig, I thought, oh, this is quite interesting. Started exploring more, stuck around on the whole blockchain side of things, helping out with various projects there, just, as a moderator, getting a feel for the space. And then I think it must have been about 2019, 2020, maybe a little bit later, I started exploring the whole DFI world. And from there, I met all the faces, all the lovely people who work with us in Summit DFI. And we just went along and created this whole adventure, and we're loving every second of it.
That's awesome. And we are so super excited to get deep into Summit DFI. I'm going to pronounce it, I guess, the way you guys do, which is kind of cool. I like it. Dakota, I'm just going to pass the mic over to you too, because I do see some new faces within our audience that we're being joined by the Summit DFI crew. Maybe you just want to give like a brief intro into what 88 MPH does and what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. So 88 MPH is basically a protocol offering fixed rate yield interest on various assets like stablecoins, wrapped Bitcoin, and Ethereum. We support different blockchains, including Ethereum mainnet, Phantom, Avalanche, and Polygon. Let's say you deposit some DAI, you will earn your fixed yield rate for a custom maturity that you can choose. This is going to be anywhere from 1 day to 365 days. In that time, you're going to earn your fixed rate on that DAI plus our native token MPH, which gives you some governance rights. We also have a more speculative product called yield tokens that allow you to speculate on variable rates on lending platforms we are using, like Aave, Compound, or Scream.
Thanks, Dakota. Much appreciated. All right, everyone. So let's get started with our deep dive into Summit DFI. So while I was learning about Summit DFI, one of the coolest things I came across is this idea of risk the milk, not the cow. So essentially, you have the option where users can simply bet on the amount of yield that they can earn or keep. And while their principal investment is pretty much kept safe, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I'm curious if you can talk about the motivation behind this cool innovation and how this different approach to yield farming makes Summit DFI so unique.
Thanks for that. Just before that, you guys have to first. Our dev is here, Architect. He's just joined after a hard day coding. Hey, Architect. And separate, you guys have to come by our Discord and tell our friends about your fixed yield investments. You don't know how many times we hear, God, you really give us a lot of risk for the fun. We need something a bit lower risk for a while. So please come on over. But more generally,
absolutely, CCN. We'll definitely be talking about, usually towards the end of the call, we like to talk about how we can sort of make some project synergies between the two. And we definitely like to swap information where we can follow different projects. So we'll definitely get into that. Absolutely. But thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, awesome. No worries. So generally, all of us on the team, Architect, Kuo, CCN, myself, I guess, and Yankee, who isn't here right now, we've been, going through, the new Defi coin roller coaster for a long time. And as we were sitting in some random channel for a pirate themed coin that then didn't manage to produce a website, we just kind of thought we could do it better. We could add something to this space. We could deliver something that, broadened the scope rather than just another failed project with devs trying to steal money. And so that's why we came together to do it. From a concept point of view, it was actually last year, a whole year now, I can't believe it, where we just threw around some ideas on how we could do it. And the one thing we knew is people risk a lot of funds going into new coins, and we didn't want them to have to do that with us. So we went with risk the milk, not the cow. Keep your funds safe. You never lose them. You just get a little bit of ours on the way through, and that's all you ever risk. So you get yield by being in our farms, as a standard liquidity farm. You deposit your assets. You get some of our native token. We get to grow our spear, and we get broader engagement. But your underlying funds are never at risk, and all you do is battle with your earned yield against other Summit users. I'll just stop there and see if QR Architect want to add on that.
Hey, Architect, before you start, if you could, we'd love to hear a little brief intro into who you are and how you got into the crypto space. That'd be amazing. And then maybe if you want to just carry on where we sort of just left off on that question, that'd be super awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry I showed up a little late. The 10-minute blocker wouldn't let me even jump in and listen for some reason. But yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having us all on. So I got into crypto right at the beginning of the pandemic. So relatively brand new to this space, considering some people have been around for years and years. I got pretty lucky. I put some money into Stellar Lumen, made a good chunk of change on that. And then I met CCN and Yankee, two other members on the team. And they said, you know what, you should learn to trade. So all of that money that I made just holding, I started trading and then promptly lost all of it. I learned pretty quickly that I'm absolutely terrible at trading, but luckily I have other skills, one of them being a dev. And we kind of came together and realized that, yeah, I won't reiterate everything that CCN said, but I had skills that could help out with this, and I knew that I wanted to build something that really hadn't been done before, add like a whole new layer. and I think all of our skills on the team really synergized together. Oh God, too much marketing talk. But yeah, I had lost a lot of money in DeFi, and we wanted to try and build something that was a little bit less the feeling of fun and game theory and degen and gambling, but without any of that actual risk. So that's kind of how I got into crypto. Just made some money, lost it all, started developing.
Nice, nice, love it. It's funny, you know, I hear more and more people saying that they want to stay away from trading. And the tools that you're building alongside a lot of other projects that allow users to just simply put their money to work seems to be working for the average retail investor within this space. And it's good that we're getting this message out there that trading isn't as easy as people think. And, you know, these tools that all these different projects have put together are great ways for individual retail users to build capital and to build long-term wealth going forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I think really takes crypto away from being, you know, a little bit more mainstream is that it is seen as purely a speculative asset. You know, you go in, maybe you make some money, maybe you lose it, but every dollar you put in, you have to expect to lose. So the fact that the market and the ecosystem as a whole is turning more towards, yes, you can speculate. There's always going to be some underlying price movement, but you can use these tools and these new protocols to just leverage the money that you already have, leverage whatever capital you already have, even if it's really small, and do so in a way that you're not just speculating on some fucking cat meme shitcoin, hoping for that 10x. Like, I think that this is an exhausting way to spend your day in crypto. And the fact that protocols are also seeing that and catering to an audience that doesn't want to fuck around with that anymore, I think that's a huge step forward and really a huge step towards making this something that lasts. And just, you know, there's always going to be bear market, bull market cycles, but if we can kind of hedge against that a little bit, it's cool to see the whole ecosystem moving in that direction.
And just to add, like, what Arc is, you know, the main dev, our only dev for the long time, except for a few other people along the way for short periods. And it's all custom code with legendary long audits. So, I mean, he undersells it a little bit, but what's been built behind Summit is unique in and of itself. And if we actually had other devs come through and ask for teach-ins from him on how his code works so they can, you know, use it all. But I think it's worth just.
That's very nice of you, CCN. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, just back to your question. We just wanted a way for people to earn a bit of money, have a bit of fun, and provide a differentiated project. From our tokenomics point of view, the users who have made the most money from our project are those who've just not traded it. The ones who just bought, held, and invested.
Right. And I gotta say, like, you know, as I was learning more about Summit DFI, I just love this idea. Like, you know, it's a completely different approach. It almost removes that degen part of like what everyone is so used to, and like it really allows people to put their money to work and sort of set the expectation. I love it. So it was a great experience, you know, digging deep into your docs and looking at your site and learning more about the projects. And I'm so excited to, you know, dig deeper. You know, DeFi composability and money Legos give DeFi a unique advantage and open a world of opportunities. I'm curious, like, how does Summit DeFi tap into these money Legos to achieve these positive crypto yields for DeFi users? And which projects right now are you guys currently tapped into to get these juicy yields that you're offering?
That's a really great question.
Shall I, CCN?
Oh, God, please, go for it.
Money Lego is actually a really interesting way of putting it. It's something, it's verbiage that I haven't heard before, but I can use it to explain what we're doing. So we have something called like a pass through. So the Legos that we're kind of sitting on the shoulders of are Yield Wolf and Beefy right now. There are a few others mixed in there as well, but these are pieces of Lego that, you know, are rock solid. They're not built out of plastic, they're built out of diamond. Everybody knows them. They're audited. There's a huge amount of community trust. And what we do is kind of, we put another little brick right on top of there, where we're giving out our own native token, Summit. But while users' funds are with us, we're doing the same thing that these vaults are doing as well. We're passing it on to the Legos underneath us, which would be Beefy and Yield Wolf, and they're earning for the protocol as a whole. So that's a really interesting way of putting it, but we generate these yields by using other protocols and feeding that funds right back into our protocol. There's a lot of like AMMs or yield farms out there where the funds that are staked with them just sit in a contract. But we've got technology, we've got the tech to hook in some other projects to allow like the whole Summit ecosystem to grow together. I really like the Lego idea of it. We just sit right on top and create extra yield.
Right. It's incredible how many building blocks are happening within the DeFi space. It's super, super cool, and it's awesome to see it all work out. So, like, one interesting thing that I noticed about Summit DeFi is this, like, gamified version of yield hunting where, like, teams can win other teams' yields and so on. I was like, what? This is so cool. I'm like, can you walk us through how this process works from, like, A to Z?
Yeah. Cool. You want to do it? You got it.
Yeah, I can do you can do the dev version if you want, or I can do a really high level version.
No. They don't want to hear my version.
So
well,
yeah,
like, guys, sorry to just cut you off for a second. Like, take your time in explaining this stuff, simply because, like, what you guys are bringing forward is quite different from, what a lot of retail DeFi users have been experienced to. So, like, I want to focus on the innovation, and I want to focus about these novel concepts that you guys are bringing forward. So feel free, give a high level, low level, whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, sure. We'll try and tackle it from all angles. So, as an overview here, we have something that we call the elevations. So when you join Summit DFI, you've got the choice of joining the Oasis. Now, the Oasis is your bog standard traditional yield farm. You go in there, what you earn is what you keep. And then it gets interesting. The next three elevations we have is the Plains, the Mesa, and the Summit. So when you head over to the Plains, you get introduced into this gamified yield farming where you pick a totem, and the totem's this cute little mascot for the round. Now, the Oasis has its own. It's a really cute otter. I like to call him Harry. And then you head over into the Plains. You've got the legendary Battle of the Tortoise v Hare. And I'm going to use this as the example here. So, say, for instance, you decide to go all in with Tortoise. You pick your totem in that elevation there. And at the end of the 2 hour rounds, or at the moment it's 4 hours, but we're going to drop it back down to 2 hours pretty soon, a sort of random number is drawn. And that decides the winner of the round. And everyone who's in the Plains elevation can join either or totems. So they can join the hare or the tortoise. And if the number is drawn, I'm just going to pull the numbers up now. Just bear with me one moment. So as an example here, in the Plains, the tortoise can win if 0 to 49 is drawn, and the hare can win if 50 to 99 is drawn. So if you're back in the tortoise and number 48 is drawn at the end of the round, everyone who's back in the tortoise can win the entire yield generated in that elevation. So everyone who backed the hare doesn't win any yield for that round. It all goes to the tortoise, which is where you multiply the yield you can earn, which is pretty awesome. We never saw that anywhere else, and we're like, this would be a great idea there. And it creates this whole sort of community bonding. They pick their favorite totem and they sort of bond over it. They cheer when they win, or they boo the other side when they lose. And that's sort of like the easy round. You go down to the Mesa where it's a 5 battle. So you can multiply your yield by up to 5 times because there's 5 different totems. So I've seen wins up to 8 times there. And then the Summit is the ultimate one. You've got 10 different totems there. So if you pick the red panda, which is my favorite one, if he happens to win, he has the chance to at least multiply his yield by 10 times because there's everyone betting or putting their yield, should I say, against all the other totems. And there can only be one winner, and that one winner wins the yield from all the other totems, and it's distributed amongst all the other friends there. But that's not all. We've also got the expedition, which I'll let Ark explain because that's where it comes through with his Lego blocks he was mentioning just earlier.
Yeah, I want to expand a little bit on the elevation farming. The dead simple way that we've been explaining it a few times is imagine you're walking up to a roulette table with everybody else that's farming, and if you're earning Summit while you're farming, and you either put that on black or you put it on red. If you roll the dice, or if the roulette table goes and red wins, red's taking their own yield as well as all of black's yield. So you're competing with everybody in the entire ecosystem to win the yield of the people on the opposite side of the table as you. So you get these really, every 4 hours or so right now, we've got two big factions warring against each other. Like, come on, this time it's hair. We got it this time. Come on. And it feels really good to win. And it feels really bad to lose, but that's the whole fun of it, right? But like Kuo was saying, there's the expedition side of it. So the elevations, this farming, this yield, gambling or multiplying, whatever you want to call it, this adds this level of fun to it. But we did that because we were removing some of the opportunity cost elsewhere. So like I said before, we're using these Lego blocks to put money into the ecosystem, and then we give that back through the expedition. I think we don't want to talk about that too hard yet, because it kind of stems from where we start. But I want to make sure that if there's any follow-up questions on like the actual elevation farming, like the yield battles.
Yeah,
and the
actually,
totems.
you know what? I'll just pause here for a second to see if anyone in the audience has a question about that. I know this is like some cutting edge, innovating stuff. So if you do have any questions, now would be a great time just to pop in, especially as we were covering all the different gamified yield opportunities that are available. And one thing I just want to remind everyone is that, again, the principle is safe. You're only betting on the actual yield that can be earned. And by the way, when I say safe, I mean obviously relative, like every single project has potential, including every single DeFi project out there, potential contract risk. But you know what I mean by safe, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just pause here for a second. Dakota, let me know if you see anyone in the audience that wants to raise their hand, or if there's any questions coming in from general. But as we're waiting for questions to come through, we'll just keep the conversation flowing here. So yield aggregators are like constantly thinking of ways to keep their TVL sticky. I noticed that Summit DeFi has like a fairness tax, like as well as like a loyalty bonus. Could you guys elaborate on this idea and the benefits it provides for the ecosystem?
Yeah, of course. So yield aggregators want to keep their yield sticky for a few reasons. It earns funds for the protocol. It means that you have higher weight in certain things. So we like keeping our yield sticky for a few extra reasons. One of them being, since we kind of plug in to these other yield aggregators, the longer that people spend in our farms, the more funds get given back to the community. So right now, we actually just a few days ago clipped over $500,000 USDC, like straight up USDC, given back to like Summit holders. So when people deposit their funds, there's a huge incentive to keep those there and keep the protocol earning money. And while
Could you elaborate on that? Was that like done in the form of like a buyback for like the governance token? Was it straight up USDC? And where were those funds originally coming from? Were they like incentive rewards on top of Beefy or the other project that you mentioned you're building on top of? Where did that originate from?
Yeah, so they're not buybacks at all. It's straight USDC given out to users that hold Summit. Every day we do what's called the expedition, where it's a lot like the farming, where you pick one or the other. This one you either pick the bear or the bull, and these two compete against each other. And you basically, if the bear wins, you win a lot. If the bull wins, you win a lot. But you're not getting paid out in Summit. You're getting paid out in USDC. Immediately available, goes right to your wallet.
By the way, I want to pause on that for a second because that's also quite unique. Most projects will pay out just in straight up inflationary rewards. It's a little bit unique when you see projects paying governance token holders and actual like stable coins. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we wanted to do from the beginning. I mean, if we're building a project, we want it to have some longevity. And, you know, if we're giving out speculative tokens, then you lose some of that, you know. The price can rise and fall and people may not have the trust for it, but when you're giving out stable coins, there's a lot of trust that comes from your community, especially when you're seeing like basically US dollars hit your account. It's a pretty cool feeling and people love it every day. We do this every 24 hours. So right now, every 24 hours, we're giving out $12,000, 12,000 USDC. So where do these funds, go ahead. Yeah. So where do these funds come from, you asked? These come when, so let's say somebody deposits 1,000 Tomb Phantom. That Tomb Phantom gets put into the masonry. So while you're farming Summit, the Tomb Phantom that you deposited is actually farming more Tomb. And that Tomb gets sold for USDC, and that USDC gets given out. That's basically how it works. So any time that funds are with us, they're earning something that gets converted into USDC, and then we give that out to the governance token holders.
I love it. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it's great to see new innovating ideas like the one Summit DeFi are bringing forward to help everyone in the audience get like a better understanding. Let's talk a little bit about like what sort of tokens you can actually deposit on the platform. Are they single assets? Are they LP tokens only? Maybe we can even talk about like what sort of APYs, obviously subject to change, but like users can expect to generate. I'd love to get a little bit deeper into the actual use cases for new users.
Yeah, absolutely. One of you guys want to take this one? More up your alley.
Yeah, sure, why not? I got it. So we kind of spread the farms around what we call, the risk spectrum. So you can get things from stable coins, your USDC, MIM, all the way through to, your Tomb forks, which pay over 2% a day. And in between those, you have innovative projects like, I don't know if you guys have run into Ripay. We have farms of that, as well as, LP pairs from Beethoven X. So, Battle of the Bands, Fidelity Duetto, all of the kind of, fun, regular stuff. So depending on your risk profile, you will get the relevant yield. And so we try and keep the yield slightly above what you get going, to the base farm. So for example, if Phantom B Share is giving you 2%, we'll generally try and give you a bit more than 2%.
And in terms of like tokens that can be deposited on the platform, can single asset tokens or stable coins be deposited, or are they strictly like LP positions?
Right now, they're primarily LPs. The closest we have to single asset would be something like the Boo X Boo pool, which is, Boo and deposited Boo. And there is the one stablecoin pool, which is USDC MIM. The reality is we need to keep aware of the yield we can generate because, that feeds the expeditions and gives rewards back to holders. And stablecoin pools right now don't really generate that much.
One question I wanted to ask, which goes back to what we were speaking about earlier. So if someone deposits on the platform and that money is sort of being put to work, the USDC that you mentioned that was going out to stakeholders, is that essentially money that's being yielded from people who have simply deposited on the platform? In other words, like, is some of the yield from new deposits being allocated strictly to stakers, or does the yield that one generates as a depositor go directly to him?
Architect, I think you're best at this.
Yeah, so it never goes directly through, and there's the reason that we did that is we want to incentivize users that basically want to work with us in the style that we, or man, how do I explain this? we want to benefit the users that are devoted to the project, that are longtime holders, that want to stick around, want to see it do well, that are getting the DAO tokens, the governance tokens. To do this, basically, if we take all of the underlying yield that's generated and it gets given back through the expedition. What this means is that anybody that shows up to Summit and farms and then sells their Summit and gets out of there, they are actually losing their opportunity cost, meaning that if they weren't with us, they were elsewhere farming their funds, making a little bit of money. So they're actually losing that opportunity, and that effective farming time is being given to the users of Summit that have generated the governance token with their Summit. So long story short, this means that everybody that's participating is incentivizing the governance holders. And this incentivizes people to become governance holders. We have half of our entire supply locked up right now in the governance token, because anybody that isn't locked up into it is actually basically donating their opportunity cost to those that do. So the reason that we're not giving it back directly is to incentivize the governance holders and the people that are sticking with the project long term.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. Do you guys ever see yourselves introducing a sort of curve style tokenomics mechanism or boost feature where users on the platform can actually, jack up their yields by simply locking tokens up for a specific amount of time or anything of that sort? Or is that even a feature right now?
That's not a feature right now. You're talking about like you lock your tokens to farm. So let's say you're farming, I don't know, USDC MIM. You would lock that for a month to get an extra boost on your farming.
Yeah, there's that, and then actually locking up the governance token too. I've seen some boosts as well where you can actually lock up your governance token, and that would also give you 1 or 2 extra points APY.
Oh, interesting. We haven't done that yet. I will say though that on our roadmap is to use our governance token more or less as like a through the Discord type of thing where we have like a governance or we talk to the users, but instead create a DAO that lies on top of it that's voting for yields and can boost yields and things like this. I will say though that when you earn governance tokens, you earn them based on how long you lock your Summit for. So if you say have 10 Summit and you lock it for a month, you get 10 Everest, which is our governance token. However, if you lock it for a year, you're going to get 25. And how much of that governance token you own determines how much USDC you're being given every day. So we are incentivizing a longer lockup period, but not on the actual yields of the farms yet. So I'll not say that is not I'll not say that that's an impossibility, for example.
No, I think that's great. I feel like many DeFi projects need to figure out ways how to bring more value to their governance tokens so that they're not just, mercilessly sold away by random farmers or whatnot. So it's good to see that there's utility, actual utility and skin in the game. And there's I love this USDC thing where, simply you're actually getting paid out in USDC by, staking the governance token. I think that's super awesome. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of your scaling plans and where you see yourselves, in this multi-chain blockchain world. As it is right now, I believe you guys are strictly on Phantom. Is that right?
That's some good foreshadowing there.
For the next 7 days, you're correct.
So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, unless there's some things that we can't talk about because they're sort of pending, any moment now. Or
Ku, do you want to do this one? You enjoy it.
Yeah, no, basically, we are launching on Polygon next week. So that's going to be one of the first chains that we move to in this little multi-chain adventure. then we've got a few other chains lined up, but we're going to all base it, see how long it takes for us to get a customer to the new chain before we start spreading even more to other chains.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you see yourselves do you see yourselves trying to get on some of the ETH L2s as soon as possible, or do you still find ETH L2s a little bit too pricey in terms of gas prices and what you can actually do? What's your take on Ethereum scaling solutions, and how do you see Summit DeFi playing out with that roadmap?
I mean, I'll leave largely a lot of that to Ark to explain, because the thing about Summit is we're gas intensive. So not from a user well, a little bit from a user, but more so on us, because every time we roll over a round, that costs us that's the transaction cost that we pay from a team perspective. So ETH and that can be quite expensive. I'm going to pass the rest over to Ark.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of discussion about the ETH2 because there's just so much money on ETH. So you can really generate some high TVLs. You can generate some really good stuff with that, and a lot of givebacks as well. We're looking at Matisse right now. From what I've done, some cursory research on it. I've traded and lost money on that chain as well. The gas fees seem well within what we can handle. The problem is, and I really feel bad about this, is that the onboarding and offboarding from a lot of these side chains or these ETH L2 chains are just prohibitively expensive. Now, I suppose that as a chain gains adoption, more funds are just going to sit on there permanently, but Matisse is something that we're definitely looking at. It's a really nice blend of its own ecosystem as well as lying on top of ETH. So it's quite interesting from a technical perspective, and it seems to be something that we can work with. We've got a few connections on the Matisse chain that we can start to leverage. It really depends on how our launches look for the next chain or two, to see what kind of community feedback we're getting, what kinds of things like this. We're a very quick to iterate project, especially on how users are interacting with it. You've read the docs, so you know that it's a big project and a project with a lot of depth to try and understand. So we're iterating right now on the front end to make it more user friendly and maybe a little bit more intuitive for new users. So hopefully that allows us to see that we're connecting with new users on new chains a lot more quickly, and getting the point across of what we are and what we do. If everything's looking good, though, I definitely see us going to an ETH L2, because there's so many advantages, and if it works, there's nothing better.
That's awesome. I've invited Mobius Tripper up on stage. If you have a question or comment, please feel free to jump in.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'm driving, so just hopefully I don't get cut off. But I have two questions, one of which is, first I had a comment, is that as a real life degenerate gambler, this is like just about my DeFi. But then on the expedition, if I lock up my Summit Everest for a year, say, I realize you can't guarantee, like, the pass-through. What is some of the reassurance that the pass-through would be there for the year, that I'm locked? And then the other thing, as you move to Polygon, where does the price of Summit fall within the price of Summit on Phantom, and how does that work? Thanks.
Yeah, some good questions, really. So for the first one, for the pass-through, yeah, like you said, it's impossible to guarantee this, but what we can guarantee is that we're going to be constantly working to increase that. This is kind of the lifeblood of it, keeping the holders that have locked for a long amount of time. We're not leaving you on the side of the road, and it goes without saying that there's always new projects coming out. There's always new opportunities to earn yield. And if we can, add a new farm that generates a lot of yield really early, gives us some new TVL, this is all moving to the governance token holders as well. So as the ecosystem develops, as new projects come out, we'll be adapting and adding new farms to hook into that. Some of our partners work really quick. The underlying Lego blocks, so we can be pretty quick and efficient with jumping on the new tokens and getting a little bit of squeeze out of them as well. For the second question, how do the two tokens interact together? It's a tough question. It's something that we've gone back and forth on a lot. So there aren't many multi-chain, I'll say, tokens with a lot of fluctuation, where the price can change a lot. And the problem with that is that if you're trying to launch a multi-chain token where there's a lot of fluctuation on the underlying token, you can generate some weird arbitrage situations and things like that. So the plan right now is we'll leave the launches independent at the start, let all of the tokens prices run their course. Every single project is going to have a bump at the beginning, followed by a lull, and then we get to more stability. We're already seeing the stability come in on Phantom, as much as Phantom can be stable right now with everything that's going on. So eventually, all of the chains will get there, and then we will bridge them over, and then let a little bit of arbitrage come in, just because once they get to this point, and we tell everybody that there's going to be a bridge coming, that they'll arbitrage themselves naturally. But the plan is to let a token run its initial price discovery phase, and then once they all come into line, we'll bridge them over. So this gives us the best of both worlds, where we get the multi-chain, we get that depth of liquidity without allowing one project to massively swing other ones. So that's the plan as far as the multi-chain rollout goes.
Mobius Tripper, did that answer your question?
So much.
Perfect. Glad to hear it.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
CCN, at the beginning of the call, you sort of alluded to something I wanted to speak to later on. So you mentioned that some of your community has been asking you about fixed rates and so on. I'm curious to know if that's something that you thought of, and whether or not you wanted to eventually try to build on top of one of the leading fixed rate protocols and offer that as a option to some of your user base. Let me know your thoughts on that. What sort of discussions have been having in your community? What sort of demand is out there? Love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, sure. So I think if we take a step back and we recognize the value chain, where there's a lot of different projects offering different parts of the value chain to meet different needs. And from when I talk to our community, they mention a few things. The first is Summit gives them their fill of taking risk. They put a portion of their funds into Summit because they like, what we're doing, they like the gamification, and they like the yield. But sometimes they get burned because, they lose the game, they bet on rabbit and hair comes out 6 times, and random variance kicks them in the teeth. And from that perspective, when I sit down and chat to them, it's very clear that a lot of them split up their profile and their portfolio into higher risk and lower risk situations. And naturally we fit into the higher risk. It's a bit higher octane. We go get yields when we're talking about a couple of percent a day, that's definitely on the higher end. And so I don't think individuals, our users, come to us for long-term locks at low risk, because that's just not the platform we built. But what we do think is really relevant is if we can partner or introduce them to other projects that are servicing other elements of the value chain, such as yourselves, which are longer term locking at lower yields, in a more safe environment. I think that's really valuable and beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, well said. Totally agree. I want to pause here just real quick before we get into sort of the next segments of our call. I know we're running a tiny bit on time here. We're enjoying ourselves. We're learning so much. If anyone does have any questions or comments, just feel free to raise your hand, and Dakota or I will just bring you up on stage. With all of this new innovation, I feel like there's a lot of excitement within the audience here, and it's been amazing to watch your success so far. What would you say to new users who want to experience the Summit DeFi Touch, but are maybe worried about like the security of their funds? What sort of checks and balances has been put into place to keep user funds safe? And maybe just keep their minds at ease. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about all of the different things that you've put as a top priority in terms of security, just so that everyone knows that you're doing an excellent job at just trying to maintain the safety of the protocol, like so many other DeFi projects out there.
Oh yeah, I could talk security for hours, because there's been a huge influx of projects that are releasing code that they don't understand, and making changes to something that you don't understand is a great way to open up yourself to vulnerability. So the first thing is that we've written literally every single line of code in-house. Obviously, there's some inspiration from other projects in there because there's no need to reinvent the wheel, but everything that we've written has been done in-house, and every single line of code that you ever interact with goes through our auditors. We work with auditors at Obelisk, who is a well respected auditing firm in the space. They have audited a lot of beefy projects. They're really intertwined with a lot of big projects. And they recognized pretty early on that this is a big project that needs a lot of people. So they put like an extra 2 auditors on it just to make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks, especially for V2. Additionally, I mean, as far as that goes, even with that, things will still fall through the cracks. But basically, every single line of code has been tested, not just with not just by hand or anything like that, but through automated scripts that are testing everything anytime we make a change. One of the big things that struck me was how like the true weight of a huge amount of money deposited in some contracts. It's a very huge pressure that sits on the person that's in control of this, and we don't take that lightly. So even though it's expensive to get audits before you launch, we got an audit before we launched with our own capital. Even though it can limit your turnaround and things like this, I mean, we wanted to release something and it took an extra week to go through the audit, and we missed an opportunity because of it. But that's a very small price to pay in the face of losing people's funds. And we have a community that trusts us implicitly, because we've been so transparent with it. We ended up having a problem on V1, which is why there's a V2 in the first place. We had a bug that came up that introduced something that it wouldn't break the project and it would never put users' funds at risk, but it was going to quickly spiral out of control. And we basically shut down the key part of the project, the elevation farms, in I think 12 hours, I think was our turnaround on it, which is it's something to say in and of itself. But in order to unstick users' funds, we basically had to go through a process that gave us 100% control. I mean, if we were so inclined, we could have taken, stolen a lot of money from it. And we went through with the auditors to make sure that we created something that puts user funds at the lowest exposure that we could. Set up a multi-sig with Austin from Phantom Alerts. We put our auditors on it, as well as Erie from Spooky Swap. There's a lot of big guys in the space that trust us, and trust us enough to put their name on us. And we got basically every single dollar of users' funds out with no problem. And I mean, even though users can feel a little bit of panic from this kind of thing, we've gotten a lot of really positive response about how we handled it and what was done. And it makes me feel good that we have that trust from our users, and it's something that we put so much priority on because it's just unimaginable to make a mistake like that. So yeah, I mean, I'll stop talking there because that covers most of it, but if anybody wants to ping me, I'll happily tell you all about some other stuff that we've done with it. But yeah, it's top priority.
I just want to wrap it because it's clear from the top. Security is our number one ethos. Protecting user funds is our ethos. All of our decisions are built around that. And you can never be 100% when you write smart contracts, because once it's out there, it's out there. But whenever we've ever had a decision or a choice, we have always gone with what is best for our users and their funds first.
Thanks for clarifying that, guys. That sounds awesome, and I'm happy to hear that security is top notch. I have so many more questions I want to ask you guys, but we might have to just skip a little bit of that segment and head over to our news and updates. So from the guys from Summit Defi, is there anything worthwhile mentioning to everyone listening today? Perhaps like a big milestone that you achieved? What can we expect to hear from and see from you guys, within the next like 6 to 8 months?
Apart from
Sure,
being
go for
launched, yeah, I'm just going to say, I guess the milestones in my head now, CCN and ARC might have some more, but the upcoming milestones in the 6 to 8 months we would be running on multiple chains. Our governance will be fully active. We would have given away millions of USDC to users, and that's one of the things I love about the project, is that we're actually giving stablecoins back to the users, and to be able to give them millions, that would just be intense.
I love that. Before I pass things off to Dakota for a second here, just to talk about some news and updates from 88 MPH, please be sure to drop in our general chat your social handles, websites, maybe docs. I'm sure that there's a lot of people listening in the audience that would love to follow all the success that you've had up until now and continue going forward. I just want to make sure that everyone has all of the right tools to be able to follow all the latest on the project. So please don't forget to do that. Dakota, was there anything that you wanted to mention related to news and updates? I'm sure it'll probably be brief, but if there's anything that you want to bring up, now would be a great time.
Absolutely. So on the 88 MPH front, our new subgraph running on the indexer network is ready. We got a grant from the Graph Foundation. The new NFT drops are ready. We're just waiting for V4. And lastly, everything regarding the front end design and development is done for V4. We're waiting for one last thing, however, so I guess not everything. We have one thing to finish up, which is a vesting contract upgrade, but hopefully we'll have some more news on that soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I do want to give the audience one last chance to sneak in some questions that they might, want to get in. Maybe some questions or comments. I'm going to pause here real quick, check the general chat to see if anything's coming through, and if not, we could give away some more information with regards to our OAT NFT drop that we're going to be doing. Coda, do you see anything from the chats?
Absolutely. So the one question I saw that came across, and you guys might have answered it when you were talking about security, I'm not 100% sure. They asked if a smart contract is hacked, will 100% of the loss of depositors be covered by insurance?
No, we don't have insurance on our staked funds. However, that's definitely something that we should be looking into, especially now as we expand. Yeah, no, we don't have anything like that set up, but I'll put it on the list for sure.
Cool. Thank you very much. That's all I got, Whipper.
Yeah, and I don't see anything coming in from the audience. Dakota, do you want to mention anything with regards to the OAT NFT drop? I'm not sure if anything was dropped within Discord, but maybe want to just give a quick rundown about the rules and how that's going to work.
Yep, I will get something dropped in Discord here in a moment. I'm sorry, I'm kind of slacking on that. But I will read off to you what is going to be involved. And because it is a little tricky, and I want to make sure that everyone who did take the time to listen to the call grabs this OAT, because we put work into this and they are cool. So the first thing that's important to know is that you're going to need to deposit at least 20 wrapped Phantom tokens on the 88 MPH protocol on Phantom, and it needs to be for a minimum of 30 days. When you do this, even though you are depositing on the Phantom blockchain, make sure that for the wallet address, you provide your Polygon address. So there's going to be two things you need to enter on the Google form, which I will drop in a minute. The first line will be the wallet address, and that needs to be a Polygon-matic address. But then below, the transaction hash needs to be on the Phantom blockchain. And so when you make the deposit, the first transaction that comes up for some of you guys who don't use 88MPH too often, the first transaction that comes up is basically just acknowledging that you're interacting with the protocol, but that is not the deposit. You will need to make sure that you deposit, which will be the second transaction.
That's awesome. Thanks for that, Dakota. And if anyone has any questions with regards to, how that stuff works, just feel free to drop your questions within the Discord channel so we can get that answered. I want to thank the team from Summit DeFi for coming on today. It's been super, super awesome. We learned so much about you guys, and we want to wish you guys a tremendous amount of success going forward, especially with all this cutting edge, innovating technologies that you guys are bringing forward with all these novel concepts and ideas. And we really hope that we'll have you guys on our call within the next couple of months, just so we can check in, see how things are coming along. And if there are any synergies that we can potentially build going forward, we'd love to be able to entertain those ideas. So with that, I want to sort of close the call here, wish everyone a absolutely wonderful weekend. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys on our next call. Thanks for the guys for Summit coming on. We appreciate you.
Thanks for hosting us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I'm looking forward to coming back.
Thanks so much for having us, guys. That was awesome.
Awesome. And don't forget to drop that info in our Discord so people can follow you guys accordingly.
For sure.
I've already done the link spam in your general chat, so it's all there for you guys.
Nice,
cool.
nice.
Too quick.
Perfect. That's awesome. All right, everyone. Wishing you a wonderful day. Stay strong out there. Don't trade like an animal. Don't be a degen crazy. You can make some guaranteed interest rates out there. None of this was investment advice. Always do your own research on every single project. And with that, we'll close out. Peace out, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Have a good one.